You listen to this podcast because you like books, or maybe because you like learning, or maybe you just like the sound of my voice lulling you to sleep. If it's the first two, Audible has you covered. Too busy to read? Driving and don't want to run into another dog? Audible is a huge library of audiobooks where people read to you like you're a kid again. And guess what? You can try it out for free. Just go to readlearnlivepodcast.com/audible to sign up for your free trial today.
But we have one life that we're conscious of right now. And it's going to go by so fast. And if you are not the best version of yourself, the happiest, most fulfilled version of yourself, what a waste. Heartbreaking, such a waste. And I just really want people to connect to that version of themselves because I just really want people to just feel alive and as happy as possible in this like very short time that we have here on earth.
Hello and welcome to Read, Learn, Live, the podcast about improving yourself through literature. I'm your acclaimed host, John Monaster, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 19. I wanted to briefly say thank you to all my amazing listeners. We just passed 5,000 unique downloads for the podcast. What a day. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or know any amazing authors that should be on, feel free to email me at jon@readlearnlivepodcast.com. Today, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak with Krystal Chong about her book, What the Hell Am I Supposed to Do with My Life? Krystal was the former chief marketing officer and advisor to the board for Honeybun Limited when she resigned to go on a journey to answer the questions that consumed her. Through her Eat, Pray, Love-esque journey, she not only found the answers she was in search of and a deepened spiritual relationship with life, but the journey healed her struggles with depression and anxiety and has given her a lasting sense of peace and joy, even in turbulent times. She is now a motivational writer and speaker and runs krystalchong.com, a company which produces media that is entertaining and empowering, designed to help others live their most fulfilling lives. She has an MBA in international business and a BSc in psychology. She resides in Manhattan with her Norwegian husband and their unbelievably adorable dog, doing the work that she loves. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Read, Learn, Live podcast. My name is John Monaster. I'm your host. Today I am with Krystal Chong, author of What the Hell Am I Supposed to Do with My Life? A fun and friendly guide to finding your magic, your purpose, and yourself. Krystal, say hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Krystal. That was the most enthused response anyone's ever given. Yeah! So I know, right? It's amazing. What a way to start. Cool. Krystal, I'm so excited to talk with you today. This book was really fun and really informative and useful at the same time, and something I think it's a question everyone faces at some point, right?
100%.
What to do. So why don't you start off by just telling us what the book is all about?
Yeah, so the book is about my story of going from a place of, having everything that the world told you that you were supposed to have to feel happy. Like a good education, a good job, financial security, but feeling completely empty, and then going on a journey to figure out what would make me feel fulfilled in my life. And so the journey takes place in Jamaica, Italy, and New York City. And it's an Eat, Pray, Love story, which is a 100% true story. It's my story. And interwoven within that story are teachings from old and new spiritual teachers, like, from the Buddha and Jesus to Oprah Winfrey and Marie Forleo. And my favorite part of the book, and what I hear from readers that they really like as well, is that at the end of every chapter, there's 5 actionable steps that you can start using right now. Because I feel like there's a lot of inspirational material, which is really good. But I found on my journey that the problem was that I can feel inspired, but I need to know what can I do tangibly right now. So inspirational material, true stories, so you get an idea of what's up ahead if you wanted to take a journey to discover your purpose, as well as actionable steps that you can do in your life. That's what the book's about.
Yay, because that is key. And that is something I really appreciate as well. It's like, okay, here are some things you can actually do right now to start changing yourself.
Right. And there's actually a workbook that accompanies the book, so that you can make it even more personal to your specific journey and the things that you are trying to figure out and achieve in your search.
Ah,
Yeah.
very useful.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start off with questions about the writing process is what I always like to do. Then we'll get into the, the depth of the book itself. But first off, I mean, so you went through this incredible transformation, and a lot of people probably do that, but you decided you wanted to write a book about it and help others. Why was that?
You know, my journey really brought me such peace and fulfillment in life that I did not know existed for me. And it really healed the issues that I had with anxiety and depression. And when I started my journey, I had no clue how to go about it, because the world doesn't really tell you how to find what will make you personally fulfilled. It just tells you what will make you personally fulfilled. And when you find out that that's not true for you, you really have no idea how to go about it. And I just felt like I had found a chartable path that I wanted to share with other people, because I feel like before you go on that journey, it can be really daunting. And if you don't have an idea of what's up ahead, or if you don't know, what kinds of things you need to do to go on that journey, then a lot of people won't. And for me, I just thought that was the most tragic thing, because then to me, that's sort of a life wasted. If, you
Mm.
never find that thing that's fulfilling in life, and that thing that you really feel this is why you're here, to bring this thing into the world.
So you wrote the book. What was the hardest part about writing the book, putting it all together?
So, for me, it's strange, because a lot of people ask me if it was hard to write the book, considering that I'm not a trained author. My background is in marketing. I was the CMO for a company for 8 years. That was my work experience. Um, but surprisingly, it wasn't difficult for me to write the book. And I think that, like, the reason is that I really believe that when you tap into something that you're supposed to do, it's not difficult. Like,
Mm.
it was, it took a lot of consistent effort, and it took a lot of dedication to finish it, but it wasn't hard. I think for me, the hardest part, though, about the process of getting this book out was when it came time to publish the book, because, it's such a personal story. Um, there's things in the book that even my best friends and my parents didn't know. It's like, to publish that book meant that I would be completely naked for the whole world to see.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of like a scary moment for me. But I just felt like, and obviously, like, when you put something out into the world, you're afraid of judgment.
Hmm.
And I think that was my biggest challenge with the process. And I just felt in the end that, like, if 100 people hate my book, but if the book helps one person find that thing that they're supposed to do in the world, then it would have been worth it. But thank God, like, everybody likes the book. The reviews are good. So, like,
So it
feeling,
all worked
it
out.
all worked out. Yeah.
Good. I like the book too.
Thank you, John. I'm so happy.
Hmm. So in the introduction, you wrote about how you would write and then wonder, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So tell me about a time your writing surprised you, and maybe something you learned while you were doing it.
Oh my God, I love this question. um, it's such a funny story, because it's also it's referenced in Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, which is about inspiration. And for me, this book was the biggest moment of inspiration in my entire life. It was like, throughout the process of my journey, my whole life I had been riddled with anxiety and depression. And throughout the process of my journey, I came off medication. I've been off medication for over 4 years, and I was just so much happier and at peace than even when I was on it.
Hmm.
And I just got connected to something that I really wanted to do. And literally in that second, I just had all the content for the book come into my mind at one time. And I just had to get a pen, like the nearest pen, and just write down the title for every chapter, because otherwise I would have just like lost it. It like came in and tried to capture that inspiration that was there in 1 second.
Mm.
So for me, that was like a really shocking moment. And then I just like sat down and then filled in the chapters, but I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest. I was just like writing. And when I would, at the end of the day, look back at what I had written, I just felt like, I would have like goosebumps, because I just felt like there was something other than me that was like a part of this writing process. It was like, being connected to something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is unique to me. I think this happens to people every single day. I think it's just that, sometimes I think the problem is that a lot of people just don't take that opportunity or don't step up to it because, they don't recognize it as that sort of divine inspiration.
Hmm. Fair enough. I'm glad you did.
Too heavy?
Right? No,
Okay, good.
no such thing.
It's so weird because before I always felt like whenever people said that, and I said this in the book, whenever people said, they had this like divine inspiration or they were a conduit for a message, like I would just always feel very strange about that. I would just be like, what? I don't just don't understand what that means.
Hmm.
But it's funny because now that I've experienced it, every time I talk to other people about it who are doing amazing work, they're just like, oh yeah, totally. Like whenever I talk to other people who are doing like incredible things, it's just like second nature to them because to them, that's also how they're bringing that work into the world.
Hmm. It's an interesting connection.
Yeah. But I think that that's the general concept of the book, which is that
Mm.
that is what is here for everyone to tap into. Do you know what I mean? That is why we're all here. We're here for a reason. We're made the exact way we are. We've had all the life experiences that we've had, and everyone is just so uniquely different. And because of that, there's something authentic for you to tap into that only you can tap into, that will just be so powerful. And you'll just find an ease of creating when you do tap into that. And then it will just all make sense to you.
The first chapter of the book talks about your life and your family. So tell us a little bit about how life was like for you way back when you were part of your family's business.
Yeah, so I grew up in Jamaica, the island. I live in New York, so sometimes people like Jamaica, New York, or Jamaica, Jamaica. And I'm a Chinese Jamaican. So, anyone who knows about Asian heritage, your parents are always like, good education, family business, make money, make money, make money. And so for me, like, I know that my parents had loving intentions, but from very early, I was guided to have a good education so that I could run a successful business and make a lot of money and have financial security. And again, I understand that was their best intention. And for the first 25 years of my life, that's what I focused on. Went to the schools that they thought were the best schools, moved back to Jamaica, joined the company, became CMO for the company. We took the company public. The company was having tremendous success. It was like, having record success on the stock exchange. It was like everything was just completely perfect that my parents could have imagined for me. And they were just like, oh my God, your life is exactly as like it needs to be for it to be perfect. And I remember like a moment when I came out of a meeting and I was leaving the building, and a security guard, very handsome guy by the way, stopped me, and he was just like, he congratulated me. And I remember thinking that I should feel fulfillment from what I'm doing, and I just remember feeling like I was completely empty.
Hmm.
And I just knew that like more of that stuff, like more money, more success, more recognition was just never going to fill that void that I felt.
Huh.
But I do want to say that the job that I had with my family was an incredible job. It was a challenging job. I got to be challenged in a great way. I was able to like use my creativity to, build something, and I'm proud of that work. So it's not to say that like, I hated the job. It's just that I just knew that that was not what I was supposed to be doing with my life.
Right. So you met Hado or Hado?
Hado.
So you met Hado, and a great transformation occurred, and you tell this really good story. So I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So after that realization that I had, I I had always struggled with anxiety and depression, but my anxiety and depression got really bad because, I knew two things. One, I wasn't on the right path. And the second thing is I knew that I didn't know how to find that right path. And that was so frustrating. And just knowing that you're not in the right place in your life, but not knowing how to get to the right place, was really heavy, and I felt stuck,
Hmm.
and it made my issues with anxiety and depression really worse. And one night it just got so bad. And I just completely hit rock bottom, and I just knew that I needed to change. And the universe aligned as it does for everyone who consciously taps into trying to figure out what they're trying to do in their life. And the very next day, I walked into a juice bar, and this homeless, nomadic yogi Rasta guru randomly came up to me, and he was like, "You seem anxious. Do you want to do a meditation?" And I would have just been like, hell no. Like, who the hell are you? Like, no, I don't want to do some boho meditation with some hippie pot smoking Rasta man, like in the middle of a juice bar. That would have
Hmm.
usually been my response. But because I was so desperate and because I had hit rock bottom and I was just so open for anything, I was just like, okay,
Sure.
why not? What do I have to lose at this point, And and I mean, there's more details in the book, but basically, that was the beginning of life-changing relationship. And he became my mentor, and he became my spiritual guide. And a lot of the things that he taught me are in the book. But basically, he helped me to get the courage and the openness to go on this journey to figure out that thing.
Mm.
And he's one of my best friends to this very moment.
So that's just amazing, right? Because
Oh my
that's
god.
somewhat, it seems like such a random happenstance
Yeah.
occasion. Like, what if you hadn't gone to the juice bar
Oh yeah.
that day or whatever,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That you would have missed out on this huge part of your life.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, I would not believe this if I hadn't experienced it, but
Mm.
there is a thing called life magic. And I realize that this sounds very like My Little Pony or Barbies or Lifetime TV, but it's real. And again, if you talk to anyone like Oprah or if you talk to the most successful people, they're talking about it because it's real. And it really is just the universe conspiring to help you when you decide, I'm going to find this thing that I'm here to find. And, I write about it in my book. And readers sometimes reach out to me and they're like, this sounds wonderful and I feel really inspired, but what if this is something that only happens to you? And, I tell them that I've met hundreds of people that the same exact life magic has happened to once they commit to it. And, it's insane to me that, like, like a month will go by, or, sometimes even weeks will go by, and the same readers will reach back out to me and they'll be like, oh my God, you will not believe what happened. And then they'll give
Mm.
me like these examples of these things that are happening in their lives. And they're just like, like in awe that it is happening to them also. So it does sound crazy, but it happens to everyone as long as you really connect to finding that thing you're supposed to do. And all it takes is being open to to like all it takes is being open to just stepping up to it when it comes into your life, because a lot of times it's happening in people's lives, they're just not recognizing it because they're not stepping up to it. Because that could have happened to me and I could have just been like no, and then that whole opportunity would have completely passed me by and I would have been someone who was like, why aren't these opportunities happening to me, you know what I
Right.
mean? So
So
take
it's all around
chances.
us. It's all around us. So
It's
you just
all
have to
around
be
us,
you have to be
yeah.
open to it.
Take chances. Like a lot of times just think, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Just give it a try. If you don't like it, you just leave. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, you have
Yeah.
a funny story to tell. Best case scenario, it can lead to a wonderful life adventure that completely changes your life.
Yeah.
And
Good.
trust your intuition, because a lot of time your intuition is telling you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's also key.
Yeah.
So you talk about drama for a little bit when you're talking about kind of how to rid yourself of some problems that you could be dealing with in life. So I thought it'd be helpful to know about the 4 different kinds of drama that you talk about, and maybe a time when you found yourself engaging in one of them.
Yeah. So, hello, listeners. What Mr. John Monaster is referring to is chapter 2, which is called Clear the Negative Air. And obviously, you can read more details about it in the book, but basically, it's about sort of cleaning up your energy environment so that it can empower you instead of hold you back. Because, obviously, a negative environment it makes it difficult for you to like achieve the things that you want to achieve in your life. But if you first clean up your environment and surround yourself with positivity, then that really is very uplifting and brings a lot more into your life that you can use. And the thing is that a lot of times we don't realize some things that are negative, or even sometimes we're doing things that are subconsciously negative. And so in that chapter, I reference 4 different dramas, and this is an example of one of the things that my yogi guru, the homeless guy, from
Yeah.
taught me. So there's 4 different dramas: victim drama, aggressor drama, intimidator drama, and aloof drama. And I'm not going to be able to get into all of them because that would take a lot of time. But I want to talk about one of them, which was something that I did a lot myself. And, I've engaged in all the dramas. I think everybody has in their life. It's nothing to like be ashamed of. It's just a part of human nature. It's just recognizing it so that you can step out of it instead of that controlling you. And so one of the dramas that, I think used to really hold me back was the victim drama. And a victim drama is basically where you're constantly looking at situations and then trying to figure out how you can present yourself as a victim so that you can get sympathy from others. Or even just looking at situations and really believing that you're a victim, and giving yourself that kind of excuse. And that was a big thing for me as it relates to my anxiety and my depression, because I
Mm.
used to feel like, I'm burdened with this issue, this anxiety and the depression, and it's unfair that like I have this biochemical makeup and I'll never be able to be like other people who are more emotionally balanced. And this is just going to be my life because it's going to be always more difficult for me. So I'll never be able to achieve. And you can make up a million stories in your head that present yourself as a victim to yourself and give you a legitimate excuse not to do anything. And so that's just one of the dramas that I was engaging in. And when Hado showed me that I was doing that, it was really empowering for me because it's hard to change habits, but sometimes if you just shine the light of consciousness on it, if you just see that you're doing it, then when you start to do it, it really loses its power.
Mm.
And funnily enough, like years down the road now, so Hannah first told me about this about 6 years ago. I am great. One of the things I'm grateful for the most is my anxiety and my depression issues, because if it wasn't for that, I would have never had anything to push me to get to this place that I am in my life and to find the work that I'm doing that I'm really in love with.
Mm. It's like you had to experience the lows to know that the highs were out there.
I mean, not exactly. I think it's just that everybody has to have some crutch in their life, right?
Mm.
Because if you don't have that crutch in your life, there's nothing to really push you to find something else that can be meaningful for you. Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And it was really because, and like for me also, and I think for a lot of people, when you're feeling like you're not in the right place in your life, and you're stuck in that place for a long time, that's where it starts manifesting as anxiety and depression, right? Because your
Mm-hmm.
body knows, like you intuitively know that, like, why am I in this life? This is just not what I'm supposed to be doing. But mentally, you're not sure because everyone's telling you, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing. What do you think? Why do you think that you're different? You should have this job. You should make money. You should climb this ladder because that's how the world works. But, like, in your soul that's not right. And so it starts to sort of manifest as anxiety and depression because it needs to give you some sign, that like you have to do something. Because if it didn't, you could just live out the rest of your life like that, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So
So it gives you the push.
it gives you the push. It gave me the push. And I needed a push because my particular life, and I think this is happening for a lot of people now in this generation, my parents set it up so that I wouldn't really have that much to worry about. We went to a good school, we have the ability to have a good job. There's not really much to push us.
Mm.
And I'm grateful that was there to give me that push.
Yeah. So as the push happens, you talk a little bit in the book about growing pains and how they are going to crop up consistently and they
Yeah.
will happen,
Yeah.
and just be ready.
Uh-huh.
So how are you dealing with them?
It's just funny that you asked me this question because just like this morning, I saw something on Instagram, and it said you could choose the pain. You could choose the pain from staying in the place that you know you're not meant to be, or you can choose the pain from growing to get out of that place. And I think that's my perspective on growing pains. So for me, I just see growing pains as like a side effect of something that's amazing that's about to happen.
Mm.
So, it just makes me feel like, and sometimes it can be hard and you're like, oh, do I really want to do this? But then it just reminds me, like, if you just push through that, right at the end of that, there's just like a really amazing thing waiting for you. So I just see it as a signal that something great is about to happen.
Yeah. And so
Grow, push through the
grow,
pain.
push. I mean, and so the ultimate, you made this ultimate decision then, right? Where you resigned from your family's business.
Mm-hmm.
You said, this is it. I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm moving to New York.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making this decision, and it was this epic moment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
That was the toughest decision for me.
yeah, talk about that for a
Yeah.
second.
So my family's company was public, and I was the head of marketing, and I had been an integral part of the company. So when I left, it had to be a public announcement, and it affected share price, and that was hard for me to think that it's actually affecting the value of the company for my parents. Um, but I think, separate from that, my parents, are in their 50s, 60s, and I know that they want to retire soon. And they would like to leave the company to one of us to run. And I just kind of felt like I was crushing a dream for them,
Mm.
and that was just tremendously heartbreaking for me to have to like wrap my head around. And there's more about that aspect of it in chapter 4, which is being selfish to become selfless. And it worked out for us in the end, but at the time, that was a really difficult decision. But I think another factor that, was really difficult, which I think a lot of people can relate to, and this is what usually prevents people from, taking that step, is not having an income. Because yes, I worked
Mm.
for my family's company, but they didn't give me money. I had a salary just like everybody else. And the thought of not having that paycheck every month, not knowing where money would come from, was completely paralyzing. So that was just like, that was a super hard perspective. I also want to say that everyone's journey doesn't have to be resigning from a job and moving to a different country, right? That's just how my journey materialized for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. But I have spoken to lots of readers who have found fulfillment in just beginning the exploration, and they find something else that they like to do in their spare time, or they have a new perspective of their job that brings fulfillment to it, or they find something else that they can bring into their job that allows them to do the work they want. So everyone's journey manifests in different ways. It's not that everybody has to quit and like leave their family and move to a foreign country.
Right. You mentioned this phrase that I really like, be selfish to become selfless. So I just wanted you to explain that.
Yeah, that is a tricky subject to navigate.
Mm.
Just because, I don't want to say just go and be selfish and just, don't care about anybody else, because that's not really the intention of that statement. So the chapter really offers a lot more detail about what that means. But if I'm to try and summarize that now, what I would say is that there's a level of benevolent selfishness, right?
Mm.
And it's not like I'm gonna be selfish because I just don't care about anybody else. I don't care what happens to anybody else. I just want this. Benevolent selfishness is I have to do this so that I am able to really give of myself. And in the chapter, I talk about the example on the plane with the oxygen masks. It's not like the moms are putting on their mask first because they just don't care about their kid. They're putting on that mask first because they need to take care of their kid. And if they are not taking care of themselves, they cannot take care of their kid. And, this happens a lot with a lot of people in social work. They don't take care of themselves and they get burnt out and they're not able to do it long term. So it's just a really important factor of, you are a vessel for a purpose. There are things that you want to do in your life. And the best way for you to do that is to take care of yourself. And, and,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that means saying no to things that you feel guilty about saying no to. But you have to take care of yourself first so that you can give of yourself the most, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, speaking of taking care of yourself, you wrote about trying to find the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
So why is that so important? And what are a couple strategies to get there?
Okay. So I think that there's whenever this conversation comes up, there's a quote that I just really love, and it goes like this: "Close your eyes and imagine the best possible version of yourself. That is who you really are. Let go of any part of yourself that does not believe that." So my belief is that best version of yourself is who you really are. It's who you're here to be. It's the reason why you don't feel fulfilled, because yourself knows that there's a self of you that's really true, that's not coming out yet. And, to be that true self is to really feel alive and to just feel connected to why you're here and to just find this place of like ultimate fulfillment and happiness. Um, and so, there's a lot of reasons why I think it's important, but I think if I was to give the most basic one, it's just that we all have one life, that we know of. There might be lots of other lives, but we have one life that we're conscious of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to go by so fast. And if you are not the best version of yourself, the happiest, most fulfilled version of yourself, what a waste. Heartbreaking, such a waste. And I just really want people to connect to that version of themselves, because I just really want people to just feel alive and as happy as possible in this like very short time that we have here on earth, you know?
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
yeah, to answer your question about how to go about that, that's a big, big, big loaded question,
yeah.
I think the first step is to recognize that it's okay where you are now. Everybody has to start somewhere. You have to first start with loving yourself, and to just make the effort to make that change. And whether it's reading a book that connects with you, or having a conversation with someone that you think has something to share, but just start looking for how you can become better versions of yourself, and
Mm.
just really make that effort.
Mm.
Take that action.
Right.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, I also, this is a perfect time for me to mention.
Yeah.
I just launched Krystal TV, which
Ooh.
yeah, and one of my first weekly program on that is going to be called Overthinkers Anonymous, and it's for this exact same reason. So the intention of that program is to help empower people to become, their best self, so that they
Mm-hmm.
can live their most fulfilling life. So you can do stuff like subscribe to that, or if there's something else that speaks to you and connects with you, then just start bringing that into your life. Just seek the information, because information is power.
Power. Yeah. So if people want to watch that,
Yeah.
how would they find it?
They can just go to my website, krystalchong.com, and then there'll be a tab called Krystal TV.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's so exciting.
So
Congrats.
exciting. Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah. So the next thing I really enjoyed when you took on the myth of a totally independent person.
Yeah.
Right. This idea that this person is just you're on your own, everything is going great, you've handled it all, that's it. And instead you talked about the need to seek help. Why is there kind of such a myth around this independent person, and how can we come around and accept that help is actually not bad? It's something that can be really useful.
You know, well, I think that the first step is recognizing that that myth is just not true.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the media did a good job of, propping up certain things so that people seem super self sufficient. And I think to an extent, it is good not to be dependent on everything and to feel like you can't do anything on your own. So that's not what I'm saying. But I think that no matter how empowered you are, no matter how strong you are, no matter how much you have, like, to use as tools, everyone needs help in some way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I really love that's happening now is that people are just being more honest, about what's really happening in their lives. And, this is not something that I believe just from my own life. This is something that, I've read about in super successful people's lives today as well as in history. And, that when I talk to like hundreds of people, it's the same thing that comes out. So I think the first thing is understanding that that's just how it goes. If you want to achieve anything, you're going to need to accept help.
Mm.
And it's to understand that accepting that help is not shameful. What's shameful is that some people pretend that they have never accepted help. So don't worry about like other people. Just worry about yourself. And if there's something is coming along that you feel like you need a little help in, it's okay. Like all of us are doing it. Don't worry. Some
Right.
people are just in the closet about it.
Right. Well, and I think this gets back to what you were saying before. It's like, just ask, like what you were saying before about trying to accept things that come your way. It's like, just say yes, just try it out. If you don't like it, you can always stop.
Exactly.
The same here. Like, just ask. I mean, the worst that happens is someone says no.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with Hado too. Sometimes people will offer you something because they can see that you need it.
Right.
And I was this like corporate empowered bitch. I was just like, oh my God, I'm in a corporate suit. And I could have just been like, no, I don't need your help. Who do you think you are to help me? You're homeless.
Yeah.
I need to help you. You know what I mean? Like I could have thought that, but that's just my ego speaking. My intuition knew I need help. I'm just gonna say yes. So I think it's also, trusting your intuition about when you do need to accept help.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing.
I think things are really properly explained through examples. So I'll give an example of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is one of the examples that I give in the book, which is that, I was on anti-anxiety medication and I was on antidepressant medication. And that is something that is super shameful. That's probably one of the most shameful things I've ever felt. Like, I never even told my friends about that app before, like, I published the book. And, that made me feel like a total weakling, like a total pathetic person that was just not um, capable. And now that I look back at it, I remember one of the conversations I had with my shrink, and I told him, I was like, I don't want to be on medication. I don't want to be somebody who's dependent on this stuff. I don't want to be somebody who's like changed by this stuff. And he just said to me, he was like, Krystal, you don't need to be on it forever, but right now you are like a car that is in overdrive. You're driving
Mm.
so fast. It's like but you don't know how to drive. So it's like you're trying to learn to drive in a car that's going, 200 miles an hour. It's going to be impossible for you to learn how to drive and you're going to keep crashing. He was like, what we're going to try and do with the medication is just slow it down, um, so that you can first learn how to drive, so that when the car is then again sped up, you can understand how to like manage it and navigate it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was my experience for me. I wasn't on the medication for a long time. I was on it for a period of time that I sort of needed to be on it. And I think was an essential part of my development because it's like you said, it slowed me down enough to be able to see things in a way that I did and to teach myself how to be, so that now that I'm off of it, I have a very, very active, fast mind. I understand, how to control it now, which I probably would have never learned to, or never learned to understand if I hadn't had that crutch or that help. And, this is really, really, really not to say that I'm recommending anxiety medication or depression medication because, if anything, I actually really don't recommend it. And everything that I talk about, everything I teach, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about on Krystal TV and Overthinkers Anonymous are natural ways of dealing with anxiety and depression because I find that to be most effective and most useful and most healthy. It's just to say that if there's a point in your life that you just need to take a little crutch, just take it. It's okay. There's no shame in it. But be committed to not like living on that crutch. Be
Mm.
committed to like getting off that crutch. Understand that that is what it is. It's just a crutch. But, but know that that's okay. And everybody's taking crutches once in a while when they need to.
So it's kind of like you want to have a plan in place before you start about how you're going to finish, maybe?
That would be ideal if possible, but a big message in my book is that you don't always have a plan.
Mm.
Because I think that that is something that society teaches us, which is that if you don't have a plan, you can't start. And a part of this journey is that you're not going to be able to plan everything that comes your way. You have to just be open to it. And so instead of the word plan, I would prefer to use the word like intention. So just have the intention that this is not going to be my life. This is not going to, this is not going to be like my story. It's just that this is what's happening for right now. And that was a pretty dramatic example. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm very like active. I go, 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 go. So, I'll be working for like 10 days straight and like nonstop. And then I'll like completely burn out. So sometimes like I literally just have to like chill for a whole day, to sort of like give myself a little break, and sometimes people feel like, that's not productive. If you want to do stuff, you need to like constantly be working. But like you just need to sometimes just like go a little easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. That's so important, especially in New York. It's like an important message to get across. 'Cause I
Yeah.
have friends that work like 60-hour weeks, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa,
Yeah.
like that's a lot.
Yeah, but also if you can tell when something that you're doing is unhealthy or when you need some kind of an intervention, So just like recognize when you feel like, okay, this something is not right here. What do I need to put in here? You know what I
Like
mean?
check in with your body.
Check in with your body, check in with yourself, like a big function. Like I really believe that anxiety and depression is a real all it is a signal from your body that something is not right. So look at your life and figure out how to set it up so that doesn't happen. And I'm saying this from somebody who had anxiety and depression from I was a child up until I was 25 years old. I have not had a major depressive like episode since that night before I met Hado over 9 years ago. Like just doing the things that I've been doing.
Well, that's
And
great.
yeah, amazing, amazing. And I would have never thought. What's really funny is that um, I had seen another shrink, and a lot of shrinks. That doctor told me this that it was a crush. A lot of other shrinks told me they were like, "Look, you have general anxiety disorder. Okay, you've been diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. With multiple doctors over multiple stages of your life. This is just a fact." And that's probably the truth. My mind is extremely active and can lean towards, like anxious thoughts. I understand different minds some minds are chill, some minds are not chill. My mind is not particularly chill. And he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, you are about a 9. And with medication, which is going to just be essential for a way of life for you, with medication and doing all the natural things, you can probably, the best you can expect to get to is a 5. But a medication is going to need to be a part of that. And I have been off anti anxiety medication for over 4 years. And just doing a lot of the natural things that I talk about in my book, as well as being connected to something that, I really believe in, that helps a lot. But the way that my life is set up now, I live in a state of 1, maybe 2.
Mm.
And to me, that's incredible because this is going against what like medical doctors told me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And I'm so glad you were able to make that change, right? Because
Oh,
that's like your daily life. I
yeah.
feel like having to go through something like that.
Yeah. And it's not like, I mean, taking a pill, people are like, well, what's a big deal? But when I took that pill, one, I didn't have a sense of freedom because I was always
Mm.
in fear. What if I don't have the medication tomorrow? Or if I travel, I'm like, oh my God, what if I'm not allowed to travel this medication? It was like, it was a real dependency that brought a lot of fear and not a sense of freedom to my life. But I think, what really got me was that it really dulls you. A lot of people who take
Mm.
medication know that. It's not like you take a pill and you have no anxiety and you're yourself and it's life is amazing. It's like you take a pill and it basically like puts you half asleep
Hmm.
so that you're not like going crazy, but you don't feel alive. You feel like you're going through life sedated. And like that is just really no way to live?
Yeah, it sounds scary.
Oh my God, it is a little scary. And like I said, that served its purpose in my life. But, speaking as somebody who has experienced both aspects, being on medication as well as being off and managing it my own way, I love it like this because I just feel I feel alive and I feel like
Mm.
myself and I love my energy, and I love that I can channel it in a healthy way. And of course, sometimes I have anxious thoughts, but they're not controlling my life anymore. They're coming and they're going or I'm making fun of them or like, it's just a different way of managing it. But
Right.
in a way that allows you to like you, be the maximum you, be the best you, and to just feel really alive and connected to life.
Oh, that sounds great.
So since we're on the topic of anxiety, and I know that this is something a lot of people struggle with, after I published my book, that's the topic that most people reached out to me about. That they were like, thank you for being honest about this because a lot of people aren't, and it makes them feel shameful.
Mm.
But if you're listening and you have issues with that, just know most people do. So many people do. People reached out to me that I would have never thought. People so like don't feel alone. And there's if I can share only one thing with you. Something that works for me that is so effective and one of the most incredible discoveries that I've had on my journey that I share is a concept that's based in neuroscience and spirituality. So basically, the concept is that um, the reason that so many people are so anxious is because of how our brains are just biologically wired because of evolution. So people who were more high strung or just more like alert or just more like, oh my God, what's going to happen are the people who would survive because they're like, oh my God, what's that, a leaf rustling? Oh my God, it's a tiger, I better hide. Versus the chill guy who was like, oh my God, is that a leaf? That's cool. And then the tiger comes and eats him. So he didn't survive to pass on his chill genes. It's most of the like people who want to freak out all the time that survived, right? So I think like recognizing that it served a purpose in us being here and not hating it, but embracing it is the first step. The thing is that like our brains are hardwired to do that in a way that like when you think an anxious thought, the part of your brain that's activated is your amygdala, right? And your amygdala produces adrenaline, right? So actually, when you think a fearful, anxious thought, your body gets filled with this hormone that makes you feel like alive and like, like it feels good biologically to your body. Like obviously I know it doesn't feel good to be scared of something, but if you think about it, when you think anxious thoughts, your body feels more like active, more awake. So physically it's rewarding to your body. That's why your body does it so much, right? Thinking, I want to stop thinking this anxious thought, the part of your brain that thought activates doesn't produce any hormones that feel good to your body.
Mm.
So your body is biologically incentivized to think anxious thoughts, which is why it's such a problem, but there's only, and this is the part that like I just love. There's one part of your brain that produces more feel good hormones than the part of your brain that's activated by anxious thoughts. And that part of your brain is activated by thoughts of gratitude. So, like growing up, like people would always say stuff like, oh, you should be grateful, you should be grateful. A lot of people don't have food and you have food and you're like, oh my God. Okay, thanks, mom. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
But, it actually is powerful, not because, oh, I should be grateful, but because if I think a grateful thought right now, that is going to trigger a part of my brain that's going to produce, norepinephrine and a lot of other biochemicals that feel good to my body that will allow my brain to shut off the amygdala, which is producing these anxious thoughts. So it's just like a light switch mechanism that just gets activated by thinking, thoughts of gratitude. I combined that concept in neuroscience with some practices in spirituality and created a guided gratitude meditation. Um, and there's a free download on my website, which is krystalchong.com, that explains it and also walks you through it. And then there is a 5-day version, which takes you through like a 5-day process. And on the last day, it teaches you how to do it on your own in like your own situations. So, for me, because I have a very active mind, I can manage that on a daily basis. But sometimes a situation comes up that's crazy, and it really just gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm tripping. And I'm just like, I have to do something about this. And literally, I'll do a gratitude meditation specific to that situation. And it works faster than Xanax. Yeah, so using that format, of that gratitude meditation that I mentioned, paired with the aspect of spirituality that's on my website, which it will teach you how to do it in your own situations. But using that, within 30 seconds, you'll be calm. If you do it within 30 seconds, it literally, if you take a Xanax pill, that will not work as fast as if you just do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because all Xanax is doing is altering your brain chemistry. This is just doing the same thing. You're just choosing thoughts to trigger your brain that alters your brain chemistry. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Amazing.
You're like self-medicating.
Exactly, with your thoughts.
Yeah.
But you know what's nice too? It sort of helps you to put a nice perspective on the situation. So I'll give you like a really stupid example.
Okay.
Okay? And this is so basic. New York is so busy, and sometimes the congestion can be really stressful and annoying. And I'll be sitting in, for instance, like an Uber, right? And there'll be so much traffic, and it's taking so long, and I'm late for something, and it's just like bubbling up in me. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't get there. And I don't want to get there all like, pent up. So I'll just for something simple like that, you could do it. You could just be like breathing in. I'm grateful that I'm able to afford this Uber,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to take the subway. Breathing out, I release like worrying about like being there on time when I can't do anything about that now. Breathing in, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak at this event that I'm going to and to meet the people that I'm going to meet there. Breathing out, I release worrying about what they're going to think about me if I'm 5 minutes late. And so it's sort of like what that is doing is it's changing your biochemistry so you're not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also giving you a much fuller perspective on the situation that really like allows you to like go into the situation with just a healthy perspective. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like one of my favorite things.
Well, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to start.
It's in the, so when you go to my website, just click on shop and then you'll see the meditation there on the
Cool.
shop section. Yeah.
Thanks. So the last couple chapters talk about roadblocks and detours and problems. So we just talked about a big one. What are some of the other roadblocks and detours that you think people might run into, and maybe talk about one you ran into and how you solved it, and if that's helpful for other people?
Yeah. I think that everyone is different, and something that is challenging for me is not going to be challenging for someone else. So it's really difficult to be specific. But I think that the one challenge that I know prevents most people from starting a journey like this or finding that thing is just this fear of the unknown. So it's like, I don't know what's up ahead.
Hmm.
You know, your whole life, you're trained differently. It's like you're going to go to prep school so you can go to high school, so you can get into good university, so you can get a good job, so that you can, rise in a company, so that one day maybe you'll have a good position in that company and then you can have a retire. Your whole life is already planned. It's not like you ever grow up thinking, I don't really know, you know? So this concept of stepping out into something that you just have no idea what else is out there is understandably paralyzing considering how we're raised to
Mm-hmm.
think. And that's the major reason I wrote that book, so that people can see what a journey like that looks like. Obviously, your journey is not going to be the same as mine. It will have a lot of similar elements, you know, getting over that unknown, recognizing when the universe is bringing things into your way, how to step past fear, you know, like there'll be a lot of similar elements. But I think the first thing is to understand that it's understandable to feel afraid of the unknown. But the one thing that really helped me get past that thought was whatever could possibly happen to me could not be worse than just living an empty life.
Mm.
If I moved to New York and I completely failed and I had to return home and get another job and people laughed at me, I could live with that. I could not live with spending the rest of my life doing something I didn't really believe in, and at the end of my life just always wondering what my life could have been. I could just not live with that. So I think it's to just get a perspective. What are you afraid of? You know, what is the worst that can happen? And then staying where you are now, what's the worst that can happen there? And I think that also the workbook that I have that goes with the book will help you bring out a lot of the things that you're afraid of that you might not even realize that you're afraid of, and to figure out how to get a healthier mental perspective so that those things don't have power over you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I especially like what you said at the beginning of that, and I think it's that quote. It's like better to have tried and failed than never to have
Oh
tried.
yeah, for sure. I think also something that was a big thing for me, the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the only reason why, the reason I wrote the book is because when I wanted to go on it, there was just no book to tell me what to do or what would happen. You know what I mean? So that's why I wrote it. But I think the only reason that I was able to overcome that, and I'm just saying this because I feel like if you're going to go on a journey like this, you are going to encounter things that nobody is going to be able to tell you how to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to have a sense of determination to figure it out. I was just determined to figure out, like, you know, what this thing was that I was supposed to do with my life. And that determination just pushes you past, you know, fear of embarrassing yourself or fear of taking a job that, you know, might not be your dream job, or you feel like, oh my God, this is a setback, which happened to me. You know, it was just a stepping stone. Everything just becomes a stepping stone. And
Mm.
so it helps you to change your perspective, which makes it easier for you.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's key.
Yeah.
So that kind of is the end of the questions I had prepped. So I like asking this one. Are there any other lessons or takeaways at a high level that you hope someone would get out of the book that we haven't quite covered?
I think it comes from what we were just talking about, which is a change of perspective.
Mm.
Um, and there's a quote that I really like. It's, if you're confused, it's a good thing. It means you're on the verge of figuring something out.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think the most important thing you can do is to just consistently choose a healthy perspective of something. Don't feel like, oh my God, I'm confused. This is so stressful. I'm depressed. Like, how am I ever going to get out of this? You know, like, this is the worst thing. Why is this happening to me? Everybody else seems to like be able to figure it. Like, you can go down a huge rabbit hole with that. Like, and that's understandable and it's justifiable. You know what I mean? But that doesn't empower you. That doesn't do anything for you, right? That just helps to continue to like make your situation worse, keep you in the same place, and makes you more depressed, right?
Mm.
So you could also use that exact same situation and think, you know, I'm confused. I wonder why. I know I'm not in the right place. I wonder what that right place could feel like. Um, and I know that like this is not where I'm meant to be, but that would be really exciting to find that place that I'm meant to be. And I wonder what will happen in my life. And, I wonder what I could bring into the world and, get excited about it. And that kind of thought, it makes you excited about what's up ahead. You know what I mean? And those two very different thoughts came from the exact same circumstance and the exact same feeling. It's just the perspective that you're choosing. And one perspective will make you defeated and will for sure not make you accomplish anything and make your situation worse. And one perspective makes you excited and optimistic and it energizes you to go out there and find those solutions. So, I mean, I could say a lot of things, but just in, the context of time, what I really do want to say is please just every time you're feeling down, reframe the situation to find a perspective that is empowering. Because anything that you decide that you want to do, and I'm saying this because doctors told me I would never be able to live off of anxiety medication. And I love living like the way that I'm living off of anxiety medication. And I find this to be real life. And I was determined to find that for myself, and I did. And anything you decide that you want to do, you can. You just have to choose the thoughts that empower you to do that. So do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Choose the thoughts that empower you and not the ones that make you feel defeated.
I'll take it. Awesome. Oh, man. Yeah, glasses half full. I like it. Cool. So let's do the Thunder Round, which is just some fun getting to know you questions. And then we'll call it a day, and we'll let people bask in all the knowledge and wisdom that you've passed.
We'll let people bask in their potential future that they're
And
optimistic
in their
about
potential
getting.
Future.
And what's up ahead of them because
That's
they're excited about embarking on this journey now
That's
and
right.
changing their lives and their lives becoming exactly what they feel it should be. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be excited.
I'm excited. And I do want to hear from people. So you could, if you have any questions, email me, Krystal at krystalchong.com. There's also a contact form on my website. But also, like, if something happens in your life and you feel like, oh my God, this happened, or if something comes out of this interview, email me and let me know your story. I love to hear stories from people.
Yeah, that's great. And buy the book also, because the book will give you much, much more than this interview.
And also, like, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook because I post a lot of motivational content there on a daily basis, which sort of helps you to kind of have that daily healthy perspective in your life. And so my Instagram is KrystalChong, and Facebook it's Krystal Chong, Live Full, Live Free. And you can always ask me questions there too.
Cool. So what's your favorite food or drink?
My favorite food right now is a green smoothie in the morning for breakfast with goji berries. Do you want me to tell you what's in it?
Sure. Let's go.
So I use like a banana, strawberries, either kale or spinach, some avocado, some chlorophyll, and sometimes flaxseed. And the reason that I love it is, one, it's super delicious. But when I start my day off with the right food that's really balancing, it gives my mind the balance that it needs. So this is a part of the next book that I'm writing, which is called Anxiety Schmanxiety, which is a part of an anti-anxiety diet. And that green smoothie, like made with certain components, really like sets you up emotionally to have an emotionally balanced day. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's my favorite food and drink.
Yeah.
I cheated.
You just like you put it all together in a blender. Turned out wonderful. That's great. Yeah, I think that's so important, right? It's how you start your day.
Well, the thing is, but people don't know, a lot of the anxiety that we're having is coming from what we're eating.
Sure.
I did not realize the extent that was happening, which that's a conversation for a whole other time.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, it's a big thing.
It's unbelievable how much it's affecting us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where's your favorite place you've ever been?
I think. So can I pick two?
Yes,
Okay.
you're allowed.
I'm gonna make two since I answered one in the last question. Okay.
Fine.
I did my master's in Paris, and I really love Paris. And one of the things I really loved about the city is that I would just ride my bicycle and explore. And it's just so small, but there's just so much to explore. And it's just so filled with culture, um, I find a big difference between like Paris and America, because America is just super commercial and everything is done a certain way. In Paris, it's almost like the most as different as you can be, the better. And I love that because I feel like it just really encourages individuality and creativeness. And it's just amazing to see like how that can manifest in an environment, because then that's coming out of a person, and then that environment is coming together, and then that's encouraging more creativity to come out of the people who are experiencing it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, and then also, the other place I love is in my home country, Jamaica. There's a place called Port Antonio, which is very remote. So a lot of tourists don't go there. There's not many hotels. But there's a place called Blue Lagoon in Frenchman's Cove. And to me, that place, it's so untouched.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like, it's like Amazonian, but it's just like a jewel of nature. But it just reminds me, it's super serene, and I love to connect to it because it just reminds me of sort of the cradle of life, and sort of like how life was meant to feel, which is just this effortless, serene miracle, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
It's great when a place can give you that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
Cool. So, my favorite question I say for last, which is if you could wave a magic wand and change any one thing, what would it be and why? Ah.
That question is funny because I hang out with a lot of social impact entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm in spaces and, we're introducing ourselves and people are like, yeah, so I run a company that brings vaccines to children in Africa so that they don't have to die from malaria, right? Or somebody will say, yeah, I run a company that brings food to children in some other super poor place, so that they don't have to die from starvation. And there's a lot of really like somebody else will say, I run a company that brings water to people in India who, have no access to water and are dying from that. And that's so, so, so important. And then it comes to me, and then I'm like, I run a motivational media company that helps empower people to live their most fulfilling lives. And it just sounds like such a first world problem, and it just sounds it sounds insignificant in
Mm.
comparison to all the issues that there are in the world. And I get that. But I just feel like everyone is connected to something different. And while I recognize that those other things are dire and important, what I feel passionate about is, like empowering people to live the life that they were meant to live, so that they can then make change in the world. And this is just something I'm connected to. But I also believe that, if more of us are empowered and, are connected to this thing that we're supposed to do, then there'll be so many more people bringing that change into the world, bringing water to people, bringing food to people, bringing vaccines to people. And so I'm not saying that my charge is less important. And I'm not saying that it's more important. I'm just saying that's what I'm connected to. And that's like what I'm super, 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 that's what I believe in.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when people read this book and then they go out and do amazing things that they might not have done otherwise, or they otherwise changed, then that could lead towards lots of things happening in lots of
Yeah.
places. So
Oh my
your
God.
impact could even be bigger than if you focus on one specific problem.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't like to measure it because I don't think that there's a way to measure it. I
Mm-hmm.
just think that if I tried to have a company that brought water to people, I wouldn't be successful at that because that's not what I'm good at and that's not what I'm connected to.
Yeah.
So we can't really measure or decide where is the most desperate cause right now, and how do I do that? It's more about what what am I here to do? Because that's the only thing that you're going to be able to do really, really well and like commit to doing long term. But sometimes that's as simple as someone just um, being in a job that, doesn't necessarily have any impact, but they're just a happier person because that happy person is going to affect the lives around them. And
Mm-hmm.
then that will just be a change in the world. And maybe some of those people will be speaking to those problems. But the more people that there are who are happy, are the more people that are affecting other people. And then that will lead to less problems in the world because one, we'll have more people solving problems. But two, we'll have less people creating problems because they're just unhappy about
Yeah.
like where they are, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, then, cheers. Here's to solving that and making people happier.
Here's to being fulfilled,
Here's to being fulfilled.
living your life to the maximum, and changing the world by doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things. Awesome. Well, on that note, Krystal, thank you so much for coming on. The book again is What the Hell Am I Supposed to Do with My Life? A fun and friendly guide to finding your magic, your purpose, and yourself. Krystal Chong has been amazing. The book is great. Thanks so much, Krystal.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. There's but there's also an audiobook which I narrated, which I feel like people always write me to tell me that they love listening to it on the commute to the jobs that they hate.
The irony.
Yeah.
It's about how they're going to get out of them. That's awesome. Yeah, get the audiobook.
I love you. I believe in you. Find that thing. You won't regret it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Read, Learn, Live. If you liked it, tell a friend and subscribe on iTunes and Google Play. If you hated it, tell a friend and subscribe on iTunes and Google Play. And so it goes.